by clocking double the growth rate as that of national average. Nearly 2 lakh crore investments into the state stand testimony to the visionary and focused leadership. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Facebook, the top 5 most valued tech companies, have their presence in Hyderabad. Amazon recently announced a record investment of 20,761 crore rupees, highest in the history of the state. Salesforce, Micron, Uber, DBS, IKEA and many others have set their shops in Telangana, and the list is only getting bigger and the opportunities for the citizens getting wider.
Once again, a good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I request everyone to please be seated. In under 5 minutes, we are going to have our Honorable Minister, Shri K.T. Rama Rao sir here. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I would like to request everyone, kindly please be seated and make yourself comfortable, and please put your mobile phone in silent mode. And yes, of course, mask is a must, and please maintain a social distance here.
Shri K.T. Rama Rao. The government of Telangana dispelled several myths and apprehensions about the future of brand Hyderabad. It not only protected brand Hyderabad, but strengthened it like never before. IT Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao met several industry leaders and instilled confidence about the sector by meeting and in many cases going beyond beating their expectations. The Honorable Minister also embarked on several foreign tours and held roadshows within the country in order to promote brand Hyderabad to several IT majors and nations across the globe in order to attract investments into the state. Telangana government has declared 2020 as the year of artificial intelligence or AI, towards positioning Hyderabad amongst the top 25 AI innovation hubs in the world. State government has entered into 8 strategic partnerships with players from the local and global AI ecosystem. Telangana government has been making concerted efforts to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, working in tandem with academia and industry.
If Telangana government through T-Hub could inspire 8 states to set up their own incubators, I am sure through V-Hub we'll also be able to inspire at least a few, and that will probably help not just Telangana but the rest of the country and women across the rest of the country as well.
Tailor-made institutions to cater to various segments of innovation spectrum have been built. The e-governance arm ESD, or Electronic Service Delivery, brings government services to the doorsteps of lakhs of citizens via portals, web and mobile apps. It's no surprise then that Telangana stands at the #1 position in e-governance across the country. Telangana has achieved the set target of doubling its IT/ITS exports in 5 years and is going from strength to strength by clocking double the growth rate as that of national average. Nearly 2 lakh crore investments into the state stand testimony to the visionary and focused leadership. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Facebook, the top 5 most valued tech companies, have their presence in Hyderabad. Amazon recently announced a record investment of 20,761 crore rupees, highest in the history of the state. Salesforce, Micron, Uber,
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, another 3 to 4 minutes to go for the amazing interactive session with Sir Shri K.T. Rama Rao sir, the Minister of IT Industries and Municipal Administration, along with our moderator Shri Dharani Kumar, President of Hyderabad Software Enterprises Association. I kindly request everyone, please be seated, make yourself comfortable, and please put your mobile phone in silent mode.
And the first Telangana government was formed under the able leadership of Chief Minister Shri Kalvakuntla. Under the dynamic leadership of Shri K.T. Rama Rao, the government of Telangana dispelled several myths and apprehensions about the future of brand Hyderabad. It not only protected brand Hyderabad, but strengthened it like never before. IT Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao met several industry leaders and instilled confidence about the sector by meeting, and in many cases, going beyond beating their expectations. The Honorable Minister also embarked on several foreign tours and held roadshows within the country in order to promote brand Hyderabad to several IT majors and nations across the globe in order to attract investments into the state. Telangana government has declared 2020 as the year of artificial intelligence or AI, towards positioning Hyderabad amongst the top 25 AI innovation hubs in the world. State government has entered into 8 strategic partnerships with players from the local and global AI ecosystem. Telangana government has been making concerted efforts to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, working in tandem with academia and industry.
If Telangana government through THUB could inspire 8 states to set up their own incubators, I am sure through VHUB we'll also be able to inspire at least a few, and that will probably help not just Telangana but the rest of the country and women across the rest of the country as well.
Tailor-made institutions to cater to various segments of innovation spectrum have been built. The e-governance arm, ESD, or Electronic Service Delivery, brings government services to the doorsteps of lakhs of citizens via portals, web and mobile apps. It's no surprise then that Telangana stands at the #1 position in e-governance across the country. Telangana has achieved the set target of doubling its IT/ITS exports in 5 years and is going from strength to strength by clocking double the growth rate as that of national average. Nearly 2 lakh crore investments into the state stand testimony to the visionary and focused leadership. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Facebook, the top 5 most valued tech companies, have their presence in Hyderabad. Amazon recently announced a record investment of 20,761 crore rupees, highest in the history of the state. Salesforce, Micron, Uber, DBS, IKEA and many others have set their shops in Telangana, and the list is only getting bigger and the opportunities for the citizens getting wider. The state of Telangana came into being on 2nd of June 2014. And the first Telangana government was formed under the able leadership of Chief Minister Shri Kalvakuntla Chandrasekhar Rao. Within no time, under the dynamic leadership of Shri Rama Rao, the government of Telangana dispelled several myths and apprehensions about the future of brand Hyderabad. It not only protected brand Hyderabad, but strengthened it like never before. IT Minister Shri Rama Rao met several industry leaders and instilled confidence about the sector by meeting, and in many cases, going beyond beating their expectations. The Honorable Minister also embarked on several foreign tours and held roadshows within the country in order to promote brand Hyderabad to several IT majors and nations across the globe in order to attract investments into the state. Telangana government has declared 2020 as the year of artificial intelligence or AI, towards positioning Hyderabad amongst the top 25 AI innovation hubs in the world. State government has entered into 8 strategic partnerships with players from the local and global AI ecosystem. Telangana government has been making concerted efforts to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, working in tandem with academia and industry.
If Telangana government through THUB could inspire 8 states to set up their own incubators, I am sure through VHUB we'll also be able to inspire at least a few, and that will probably help not just Telangana but the rest of the country and women across the rest of the country as well.
Tailor-made institutions to cater to various segments of innovation spectrum have been built. The e-governance arm, ESD, or Electronic Service Delivery, brings government services to the doorsteps of lakhs of citizens via portals, web and mobile apps. It's no surprise then that Telangana stands at the #1 position in e-governance across the country. Telangana has achieved the set target of doubling its IT/ITS exports in 5 years and is going from strength to strength by clocking double the growth rate as that of national average. Nearly 2 lakh crore investments into the state stand testimony to the visionary and focused leadership. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Facebook, the top 5 most valued tech companies, have their presence in Hyderabad. Amazon recently announced a record investment of 20,761 crore rupees, highest in the history of the state. Salesforce, Micron, Uber, DBS, IKEA and many others have set their shops in Telangana, and the list is only getting bigger and the opportunities for the citizens getting wider. The state of Telangana came into being on 2nd of June 2014. And the first Telangana government was formed under the able leadership of Chief Minister Shri Kalvakuntla Chandrasekhar Rao. Within no time, under the dynamic leadership of Shri K.T. Rama Rao, the government of Telangana dispelled several myths and apprehensions about the future of brand Hyderabad. It not only protected brand Hyderabad, but strengthened it like never before. IT Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao met several industry leaders and instilled confidence about the sector by meeting and in many cases going beyond beating their expectations. The Honourable Minister also embarked on several foreign tours and held roadshows within the country in order to promote brand Hyderabad to several IT majors and nations across the globe in order to attract investments into the state. Telangana government has declared 2020 as the year of artificial intelligence or AI, towards positioning Hyderabad amongst the top 25 AI innovation hubs in the world. State government has entered into 8 strategic partnerships with players from the local and global AI ecosystem. Telangana government has been making concerted efforts to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, working in tandem with academia and industry.
If Telangana government through T-Hub could inspire 8 states to set up their own incubators, I am sure through V-Hub we'll also be able to inspire at least a few, and that will probably help not just Telangana but the rest of the country and women across the rest of the country as well.
Tailor-made institutions to cater to various segments of innovation spectrum have been built. The e-governance arm ESD, or Electronic Service Delivery, brings government services to the doorsteps of lakhs of citizens via portals, web and mobile apps. It's no surprise then that Telangana stands at the #1 position in e-governance across the country. Telangana has achieved the set target of doubling its IT/ITS exports in 5 years and is going from strength to strength by clocking double the growth rate as that of national average. Nearly 2 lakh crore investments into the state stand testimony to the visionary and focused leadership. Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft and Facebook, the top 5 most valued tech companies, have their presence in Hyderabad. Amazon recently announced a record investment of 20,761 crore rupees, highest in the history of the state. Salesforce, Micron, Uber, DBS, IKEA and many others have set their shops in Telangana, and the list is only getting bigger and the opportunities for the citizens getting wider. The state of Telangana came into being on 2nd of June 2014. And the first Telangana government was formed under the able leadership of Chief Minister Shri Kalvakuntla Chandrasekhar Rao. Within no time, under the dynamic leadership of Shri K.T. Rama Rao, the government of Telangana dispelled several myths and apprehensions about the future of brand Hyderabad. It not only protected brand Hyderabad, but strengthened it like never before. IT Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao met several industry leaders and instilled confidence about the sector by meeting and in many cases going beyond beating their expectations. The Honorable Minister also embarked on several foreign tours and held roadshows within the country in order to promote brand Hyderabad to several IT majors and nations across the globe in order to attract investments into the state. Telangana government has declared 2020 as the year of artificial intelligence or AI, towards positioning Hyderabad amongst the top 25 AI innovation hubs in the world.
So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are good to go. Kindly please be seated, make yourself comfortable.
Partnerships with players from the local and global AI.
So bilkul dosto, namaste, salam, sat shri akal, good morning, swagatam, suswagatam. This is Krupa Patel and welcome to Brand Hyderabad Future Ready. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna have interactive session with Shri K.T. Rama Rao sir. So bilkul sir के साथ आज बहुत ही सारी बातचीत होने वाली है. So yes, of course, you all are very excited, I suppose, and you have many questions in your mind how brand Hyderabad is going to be and how it was in 6 years. So these all questions will be answered, and yes, we have our moderator here. Let's welcome Mr. Bharani Kumar, the President of HICC, with a huge round of applause, everyone. And yes, of course, meanwhile, we're going to have, so ladies and gentlemen, here we have the dynamic Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao sir with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands up in the air. Let's welcome our Honorable Minister of IT Industries and Municipal Administration. Come on, huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. जोरदार तालियों के साथ हम welcome करते हैं यहाँ पर the dynamic, talented, inspiring Minister of IT Industries and Municipal Administration, Shri K.T. Rama Rao Garu. Warm welcome, sir. It's a pleasure having you here. Ladies and gentlemen, can we have one more round of applause? Come on, everyone in the house. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, of course, many a times we all know that great cities are built with great governance. Soon after the formation of Telangana state in 2014, under the leadership of Honorable Chief Minister K. Chandrasekhar Rao and Honorable Minister for MA and UD K.T. Rama Rao Garu, the government of Telangana has envisioned integrated approach to transform Hyderabad into a truly global, livable, lovable city. As a result of proactive planning and implementing unique initiative, the city of Hyderabad has witnessed various development projects and citizen-centric services in last 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we have on stage our Minister, Honorable Minister of IT and MA, K.T. Rama Rao sir. Zordar taaliyan ho jaye. And yes, we have our moderator, Bharani Kumar, the President of HICC. And yes, please be seated, make yourself comfortable. Over to you, sir.
Honorable IT Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao Garu and my colleagues from the industry, and I think we have a lot of other representation from the industry sector, is manufacturing, pharma, or any other industry. So a very, very warm welcome to all of you. Always a pleasure and an honor, sir, to be with you, sharing the stage. And I've had this experience many times in the past, that whenever we are on the stage, you always tell me, Bharani, talk less, right? But today, you don't have to be...
See, that's only because I have to talk more.
That's exactly the point. So today, I will not give you the chance to say that, because here, and everybody who's just, watching the TV, want to hear more from you. So I will just definitely keep that, like say, in mind, and I'll make sure that it's going to be a very short, thing from me. So the theme is quite apt, Brand Hyderabad Future Ready. I can relate to this topic. I mean, for more than 15, 20 years since I moved back from the US. Before we get into the conversation, let me also set a context and share some perspective from HICC, the industry body of Hyderabad, in terms of what Brand Hyderabad has been and what it is today, particularly during the COVID time. Sir, we have done this, I'm sure you know this, because you were there part of the ICI Innovation Summit. We published a report by KPMG on the resilience of Hyderabad ITES industry during the COVID time. And just for the interest of the audience here, let me share that very quick summary so that I'll also set a context on the brand Hyderabad. We've just had this independent kind of research done by KPMG, and what they've come out, right, is that it's very promising, very positive, in the sense that when we were hit by the pandemic, we were all very worried because our business continuity planning was just not, really prepared or geared up to this particular pandemic. So there were 4 stages they just looked at. One, how did Hyderabad IT industry, as compared to the other industries in India, react to the situation? How resilient was the industry? And how is the recovery process? And what the future looks like for IT industry. So with all that, I should take pride in saying, on behalf of the industry, we did phenomenally well in terms of the reaction and how resilient we were and how the recovery process is going on. We are currently in the recovery stage. So the reaction was absolutely phenomenal because of the entire government machinery coming together, collectively working towards the, to reduce the kind of impact that we faced. And under the leadership of Honorable IT Minister and Mr. Jayesh Ranjan and the police department, the nodal officer here, Mr. Sajjanar, and all the commissioners of police of Hyderabad and Rachkonda, everybody, the health department, GHMC, everybody came together and made sure that the reaction was absolutely phenomenal, and we were very resilient because we were able to continue our work within about, like say 1 week, moving away from the office spaces. 95% of the people were able to work from home in about 1 week to 10 days time, which was absolutely a phenomenal thing that has happened. Requires a huge round of applause to the government and the industry, all the government machinery work together. So the recovery is also much faster now, because the way we are looking at the recovery is that as compared to the other cities, we are recovering at almost 1.5 times faster than the other kind of cities or anywhere in the world. So we are very, very optimistic that according to the report, which is again an independent kind of a survey, we will be close to a 10-digit or a higher single-digit growth this year. But having a dynamic IT minister like himself, we can even think about and optimistically maybe a double-digit growth even this year, and certainly more than 2 times the growth of average Indian IT industry. So thank you very much, sir. Thanks to the entire government machinery for making this happen, and we are sitting definitely in a comfortable position right now. So again, going back to the brand Hyderabad topic, so let me just again talk a little bit about what the past was. We all know, we definitely have to recognize and appreciate the fact that there was a common perception, right, in the past, during the Telangana movement, that the brand Hyderabad image was impacted. I mean, everybody started deliberating about it those days and all that stuff, right? But once the new state was formed, you see that brand Hyderabad emerging so strong that it is definitely something to reckon with, and absolutely a phenomenal brand Hyderabad that we see today, thanks to the government and all the initiatives that they've taken. And I would like to just ask our Honorable IT Minister that, sir, what is that you have done? And what is that you have experienced in the whole journey of your 6 years to bring about this transformation in brand Hyderabad, right? What it was before 2014 and what it is today. To you, sir.
Thank you, Bharani. Thanks so much. Firstly, I apologize for showing up almost 45 minutes late. I hope you understand this happens during the election. We get pulled in multiple directions, and today, in fact, is the last day of withdrawal of all these nominations which were filed against my party's official candidate. So therefore, it took a bit of cajoling and a bit of working around my schedule to ensure some of these things go on without a hitch. So thanks for this opportunity, and thank you all for spending some time on Sunday to actually come and gather here. I really appreciate it. Now, going back to your question about brand Hyderabad, see, Bharani, I don't think any individual or any particular government can take credit for Hyderabad as a brand. I don't believe in that at all. In fact, Hyderabad is a city, if you think about it, which has a history of 430 years. So today, the Hyderabad that you see in front of our eyes is not something that was created in the last 6 years or in the last 20 years or last 100 years. It evolved over a period of 400 plus years. I am not a born Hyderabadi. I was not born here. Like you, I was born elsewhere. I was born in Karimnagar. Moved to Hyderabad in my 5th grade, I think it was, or 4th grade. And then ever since then, I've been here. Of course, like many of us, I've moved out. I went to Pune, I went to Bangalore, I went to Delhi for a bit. I studied in the US, worked there for a bit. So like many Hyderabadis today, I've also been exposed to the rest of the world. You know, you would truly appreciate Hyderabad only when you actually go outside in other Indian cities. You know, I keep telling a lot of people, what is brand Hyderabad, what is good about Hyderabad, what is really, fantastic about our city is, you would only be able to compare and contrast. Say if you go to a Bangalore and feel the traffic there and come back to Hyderabad, you will definitely enjoy, the traffic here. But of course, if you only live here, then you will tend to complain that traffic yahan pe bhi kharab ho raha hai. But Hyderabad as a city, in fact, is one of those very, very rare cities in India, which has got both history, culture, heritage, and this new age vibrancy. Very few cities in India have that unique advantage. And geographically, it's in an amazing location. Bang in the middle of the country. Absolutely brilliantly poised, in the sense of no natural disasters, shielded sort of from all natural disasters, such as cyclones, earthquakes, etc., etc. So, and the weather is of course fantastic except for 2 months. I think it's brilliant. So therefore, what really the city needs from a government perspective is just an enabler, just a progressive government which can keep things intact and keep making the infrastructure better and ensure that the law and order, ensure that the progressive policies are taken the center stage. As long as you're able to do that, this city will continue to attract people of all hues and shades from across the world, not just from across India, but from across the world. So our fundamental challenge when we assumed office 6 years ago was to ensure that whatever prejudices, whatever apprehensions people had were taken care of. Like you said, during Telangana agitation, a lot of people had a lot of doubts. Ki kya hoga Hyderabad? Agar TRS government banegi, what will happen? Will they discriminate? Will they in fact discriminate based on region or language or whatever? KCR Garu has shown extraordinary maturity. In fact, right after he assumed office, he said, now our agenda is only development. We fought hard for this state. We fought an intense, agitation for the statehood. Now we no more have any such agendas. Anybody who's made Hyderabad their home is a son of the soil. So therefore, we're going to treat everybody equally and there will not be any discrimination. And today I'm delighted after 6 years that we've delivered in practice. We did not only promise, but we also delivered, and that's why Hyderabad continues to remain an investment magnet. I'll narrate one specific example. Yesterday, in fact, I had met with a group of businessmen in some location in Jubilee Hills, about 50 odd businessmen who were, who invited me for a cup of tea. One of them tells me, he was in Uttar Pradesh 3 days ago, this gentleman. He had some business in Uttar Pradesh and he had an appointment with Uttar Pradesh Chief Secretary. So he gave him time for about 20 minutes. I can name the name, but I wouldn't look nice. So this gentleman, he was sitting with UP Chief Secretary, and UP Chief Secretary says, ठीक है, तुम्हारा काम बाद में देखते हैं, थोड़ी देर रुक जाओ, पर पहले ये बताओ कि हर इन्वेस्टमेंट हैदराबाद क्यों जा रहा है, क्या हो रहा है वहाँ पे? So this businessman tells him, the UP Chief Secretary. In fact, the UP Chief Secretary apparently elaborated. He said, we have Ghaziabad, we have Noida, we have stability, everything. How come, you are attracting more business? Your city seems to attract more business. This businessman actually took a lot of pride. He was obviously happy being a Hyderabadi. He told the UP Chief Secretary 2 things. Sir, first, we have stability. We have peace. We have law and order. We have a stable government. That's the first thing. And secondly, more importantly, we have able leadership and progressive policies in the form of our Honorable Chief Minister, KCR Garu. Now, these 2 things are extremely important from a city's perspective to be able to remain attractive, not only for investments, but also, to attract people of all hues and shades. So, in my humble opinion, Bharani, brand Hyderabad is not built in a day, without a question. I will not shamelessly take credit that, I've done everything in last 6 years. No. This city has been there much before I was ever born, and this city will be there much after I am gone also. But I do believe that it's our bounden responsibility when we are in government, when we have been given a position conferred by the blessings of the people, that we have to keep it intact if we can, and strengthen it and take it to the next level if we can. I think that's the fundamental thing every government, every public representative needs to, remind himself of.
Very well said, sir. Very well said. Thank you. So you talked about the discrimination part, right? I know we went through this, transition from a, combined state after the division, right? A new state.
I feel like this is chai pe charcha, man.
Well, I don't know where my chai is, but anyway, that's fine. So during this transition, as you rightly said, there was a lot of anxiety, right, in then existing investors. And also people thought that they would be discriminated against and all that stuff, right? But so one of the major challenge you and your government would have faced, right, once you took over in 2014 was that how do we kind of, reinstill the confidence in these people? Give them the feeling that, yes, you are very welcome. And eventually they'll just become the brand ambassadors of Hyderabad, which they did eventually, right? So I think that's a huge transformation that we saw. But how did you go about, bring that confidence in them? And I think there's more investment coming from such groups, right, who thought there's going to be a huge challenge and, anxiety.
KCR Garu keeps reminding us of one thing. He says, a lot of times industries ministers, IT ministers, trade promotion bodies, we tend to forget one fundamental thing. In pursuit of new investments and new investors, we forget our existing investors. We forget people who've already invested in our state. So he told us one thing. He said, first, take care of your existing investors. If you take really good care of them, they will in fact turn into your biggest brand ambassadors because they have network all over the world. They have connections all over the world in their own business sphere. And they will continue to spread the good word and, that will catch up. It's more infectious that way. So that's the first thing we have done. We actually reached out to all the existing, bodies, HICC, CII, ICI, etc., had multiple rounds of deliberations on what this government is likely to do, what we promised them, and how we see Hyderabad shaping up in the next few years. One of the things when I said initially, when I assumed office as IT Minister and Industries Minister, was I raised some fundamental questions about why in the IT space, why are we lagging behind Bangalore? What is it that this city is missing? That we need to, get that X factor, chudza as they call it, how do we bring that in? How do we bring in those elements which will make our city also, kind of rock star, which will also get us rock star status. So therefore, we had that very open dialogue, a very informal dialogue with multiple business houses, business groups in Telangana. And therefore, you see, more than 23% of the investment that we got in the last 6 years has come from existing investors. And more importantly, I think what is the testimony to Telangana's strength today is out of the 2 lakh crores of investment that have come in the last 6 years, like I said, 23% has come from existing investors. And out of these 2 lakh crores, more than 80% actually has been converted into operational. So meaning they have operationalized and not only have expressed an intent, but also have delivered on the promise. Now this is very important from a state perspective, because even I could do a fantastic, summit, investment summit here in HICC and announce that we have gotten 8 lakh crores of rupees of investments, signed in the form of MOUs. But how much of it really gets translated? Right. Depends on the government's intent, depends on the government's keenness to listen, understand, and ensure that the promises are delivered. Now that's exactly what Telangana government has done under the leadership of our dynamic Chief Minister. That's exactly why I believe the city continues to attract more and more business.
Wonderful. Let me just go back to the history, sir. In June of 2014, after you just took over as the first IT minister, you had actually, arranged for a meeting with IT industry leaders in Taj Krishna. I'm sure you must be, very clearly remembering this. Many of the IT leaders here were also, part of that delegation. You kind of, articulated and you made a presentation about your vision for IT industry, right? As you rightly said about Bangalore and why is that we're lagging behind? Why can't we be the number one, right? So we could understand your vision, right, for Hyderabad as to how we want to grow it from 2014 The exports revenues are about close to 57,000 and odd. And today, you promised that it will just be doubled in about 5 years. So in 2020, we sit here with the numbers of 1,28,000 crores, which is an incredible achievement, right? And the HICC, the industry, we've really, feel pride to take, the step that, okay, we are also the partners in progress, right? And this achievement definitely would not have been possible unless otherwise we had a great amount of initiatives coming from you, right? Interventions from the government and the initiatives that you've taken and the vision that you had, how it's translated into action. So I want to just hear from you as to, I'm sure a lot of hard work has gone in. Just want to understand it, at least in the interest of the audience. We want to hear from you as to how did you, translate that vision to action and into reality.
Bernie, I'm not trying to be modest, but the fact is, IT industry is an industry which, doesn't really require a lot from the government other than 2-3 things. 1, skilled manpower. 2, progressive policies. And 3, of course, law and order. These are the 3 important things which go into attracting IT industry. Now, in the last 5 years, when we said, it may have sounded audacious when we said initially that the current IT exports will be doubled in 5 years. Initially, it was, 57,000 crores to be precise, back in 2014-15, to where it is now 128,000. It might have sounded audacious then, but without a question, Hyderabad, had that potential in itself. And secondly, combine that with your abilities to ensure that Hyderabad is marketed properly on a global stage.
Right.
Focus on innovation, focus on ensuring that even emerging technologies are harnessed properly here. And again, I might sound repetitive, progressive and able leadership. These are the things that really go into attracting, some marquee names. Today, the most valued technology companies in the world, all top 5, have, without an exception, made Hyderabad their second home in the world, for their largest base.
Absolutely.
Google, Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft. See, the credit again goes to the city and its enabling ecosystem and to the fantastic manpower that we have in Hyderabad. Without a question, government of course has been a facilitator, has been an enabler, but I think bulk of the credit should go to our youngsters, to our people who have actually, moved, who've been working here, who've really given the confidence to these investors to come in, set shop, to be able to find the talent right here. For example, Micron, a large company. Initially when Sanjay Mehrotra came here, he said, I'm looking to hire about 2,500 people. I'll be, investing a certain sum. But then he tells me later, within 6 months or I think 8 months, he tells me, I think I'm going to quadruple, not even double or triple. Now that is the power of Hyderabad, that is the power of our people, to be able to ensure that we offer global solutions at scale, to the world, not just to our own.
By the way, Micron is going to be the single largest SEZ in Telangana. That's the kind of promise they've made.
I think they deserve a big round of applause, guys. They are the single largest SEZ in Telangana. And I think all of that has happened in the last 2 years. So kudos to them.
Absolutely. I think you said it so well, sir. I think it's all going to be a collaborative effort, right, with the government being an enabler and the industry also is working. And the ecosystem has been developed so well that I think, we are in a, not really a self-sustainable mode, but I think with the government intervention, we certainly could just take that big leap forward. So if you look at the overall investment that are actually coming into Telangana, right, as compared to the rest of the states, particularly the FDI, right, we certainly see a lot happening in Telangana, particularly for Hyderabad. And as you rightly said, progressive government is very important, and the government policies are also very, very important. And for example, this recently announced Amazon's 2.77 billion investment, the largest data center, right, is absolutely, I would say, a phenomenal and incredible kind of a news for the industry during the pandemic, to just shot in the arm for us, right? And this happens just not like a simple statement given by Amazon CEO saying that, okay, no, we're going to invest 2.77 billion here, right? I'm sure behind the scenes, a lot of, effort, hard work, focused strategy must have gone in, right? I definitely would say that, I've said it to my lot of industry peers, that you acted as a CEO and the chief marketing officer and the chief sales officer. You donned that hat many times. You went to Davos and you went to, California, you went to Silicon Valley, wherever it is, name a place. You've been just, like say, donning that cap and then going there, doing all that stuff, right? So at least in the interest of the audience understanding, they should know as to how do you diligently pursue and the kind of perseverance that you or your government, right, puts in to be able to get these investments. And conversion ratio, one more point that I would like to mention. Investments could come, right? They would just make some statements, okay? But converting them to real, actual investments, the ratio, Telangana is rated very high, 40%, as compared to the national average of 23-24% based on my limited analysis. But that's a huge success factor too, in terms of attracting investment. So how is that made possible?
Bernie, a lot of times, in fact, a decision, an investment decision, particularly when it gets announced, there's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. In fact, with Amazon, if you think about it, our relationship started about 6 years ago. In the initial days, when Amazon was looking to set up a fulfillment center, a basic fulfillment center, they chose Bangalore first. In fact, they had come to us because these were the days in 2014 when e-commerce was still not very well understood by the tax authorities. The local commercial taxes people, the value-added tax back then which existed, the VAT regime. They had come to us, Amazon officials, initially trying to understand how Telangana is looking at the whole e-commerce gamut. And when we gave them the confidence that Telangana really understands e-commerce and its potential and how we are going to be friendly in terms of, ensuring that our tax authorities, the local state tax authorities, will deal with them, because it's a learning process, So we will work together is what we promised them.
Absolutely.
They were really, really excited because, they had a tough time in Karnataka, the local tax authority. So when they came to us and when they saw how well Jayesh and the entire team responded, they agreed and they set up their first fulfillment center, the largest fulfillment center in India, back in 2015 in Hyderabad. That was the beginning of the relationship. Then they were scouting for, again, a location for their own office. And we went to Seattle all the way. And we had a series of meetings, Seattle and then also in Davos and elsewhere. And then came your largest Amazon office in the world. A 3 million square foot office that you see in Gachibowli, because they gained confidence. Because they gained confidence in this government, in this state, that these guys actually work as partners and don't necessarily look at us as investors. So then came the largest office. And when it came to their data center, Amazon Web Services today is one of the largest, they contribute, in fact, a significant chunk of revenue to Amazon. So when they were deliberating where to put up their large data centers, once again we met in Davos and we had this discussion. And eventually, it took a bit of time, but eventually about 6-7 months of negotiations and a lot of other things with respect to incentives such as power tariffs, etc., etc. Eventually, the deal was clinched. So, sales and investment is really about relationship building. It does not happen overnight. You really have to build a relation. You really have to work on it. Series of meetings, a lot of wining and dining and, ensuring that they're taken care of properly and ensuring that there are relationship managers literally, to take care of their every need. This is how government of Telangana has worked in the last 6 years. We went out on a limb. We call ourselves a startup state. In fact, I keep telling a lot of my friends that since we are sitting in this HICC forum and since there are a lot of youngsters from the IT industry, I would say independent India's most successful startup is the state of Telangana, without a question. I think in the short span of 6 years, this state has really stabilized, the state has really outdone itself, and the state has really delivered on a number of counts. So that's what I keep telling my friends also, that we operate with the bent of mind of a startup. And the hunger, the passion that you see in not only me, but my colleague ministers, my colleague MLAs, when it comes to protecting the interests of Telangana, is primarily because of one reason. We fought hard for this state. We have a point to prove, not only to ourselves, but also to the people, the naysayers, who said we could not succeed. So therefore, whenever we do, whatever we do it in full, no half measures when it comes to promoting Telangana, when it comes to protecting Telangana's interests. And that's what has, I think, contributed to the success of the state.
So whenever I talk to you, I always just feel that passion in you, right? Because, even the last conversation I've had with you in your office after the new executive committee members of HICC took over. The very first thing that you mentioned about is, Barney, we want to just kind of, like do something for the student community. We want to create cyber warriors, right? I mean, I can definitely relate to your passion. Every time I talk to you, you come up with some brilliant ideas, and that again just not stays as ideas, but you ensure that that happens. So I can certainly relate to what you said.
ఇది ఒకటి తెలుగులో చెప్పాలి. తెలుగులో చెప్పొచ్చా?
Please.
అంటే మనందరి షెల్ఫ్ లైఫ్ చాలా లిమిటెడ్. ఇప్పుడు నేను ప్రస్తుతం మినిస్టర్గా ఉన్నాను. Everybody's shelf life is very limited. As a politician, you're the current president of ICI. I'm sure your shelf life is also limited. There's somebody who's going to follow suit next. మన షెల్ఫ్ లైఫ్ లిమిటెడ్ అని తెలిసినప్పుడు, ఇప్పుడు నేను మినిస్టర్గా ఓ 4 కొబ్బరికాయలు కొట్టానా, ఓ 2 రిబ్బన్లు కట్ చేశాను అనుకుంటే వేస్ట్. అలా నాలా వస్తారు, నా తర్వాత వస్తారు, నాకంటే ముందు కూడా ఉంటారు. కానీ అల్టిమేట్గా నేను ఇక్కడ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఏం చేశాను, ఏమైనా చేయగలిగానా లేదా? యూ గో బ్యాక్ హోమ్ విత్ ద ఇన్నర్ సాటిస్ఫాక్షన్. అండ్ అన్లెస్ యూ డూ థింగ్స్ విత్ ప్యాషన్, you will not be able to deliver. నేను ప్యాషన్ లేకుండా ఏదో మామూలుగా కూర్చుంటాను, వచ్చానంటే వచ్చాను, పోయానంటే కుదరదు. So that's exactly what I believe in, and therefore you see that in me.
Yeah, I don't know how else we can articulate so well about passion and what drives with passion. So let me move on to the other sectors, sir, because we've been always talking about IT and pharma. I mean, that's what comes in the news most of the time, right? I know that we have seen a significant improvement and growth. Again, the economic growth happening in IT and pharma industry. So I know that
pharma the entire life sciences, in fact.
Entire life sciences, including biotechnology and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for correcting me. And so now, is the government targeting any other sectors? I know we've been hearing a lot, but I just wanted to hear from you, targeting many other sectors wherein we want to just kind of look at major investments coming in the next couple of years, right? And very importantly, just not seeking the investments, but what kind of government policy changes that you are actually doing and even anticipating to do to be able to attract these investments on a sustainable manner?
Bernie, one of the things I'm excited about for the next decade really is, besides the 2 usual suspects, IT and life sciences, where Telangana continues to remain a leader, I'm excited about electronics and electric vehicles. In fact, I'm very, very upbeat that Telangana could truly be the electric vehicle hub for the entire country, because I see that as a way forward. ఎందుకంటే నాకు ఒక ఫ్రెండ్ ఈ మధ్యన ఒక మంచి మాట చెప్పారు. He said the 3 Ds that are going to dominate our country in the next few decades is digitize, decarbonize and decentralize. These 3 Ds. ఈ 3 కనుక మనం కరెక్ట్గా టార్గెట్ చేయగలిగితే, so if you talk about decarbonize, you have so much opportunity in clean tech. Clean tech lo niku electric vehicles undi, electronics undi, there are so many other facets that can be targeted, because the world is now, after corona and this pandemic, everybody is conscious of health. So therefore, health patla inta conscious periginappudu pollution taggali, leda cities clean ga undali, air quality better ga undali annappudu, electric vehicles are the way forward, and I do believe Hyderabad has in it to be able to attract a lot of this particular segment. We already have 3 large investors who have already signed with us. One is a company called Electra, another one is a company called Mitra. ఇంకా చాలా 2-wheelers, 3-wheelers వాళ్ళు కూడా మన EV పాలసీ లాంచ్ చేసినప్పుడు దాదాపు మొదటి రోజే more than 3,000+ crores of investment మనం సైన్ చేయగలిగాం. Now that has to be operationalized. That's one segment I'm very excited about. Second segment I'm very excited also about is food processing. Food processing lo Telangana is now more than surplus. So therefore I believe now Telangana can cater to the needs of other states. We can actually start talking of how to process, how to ensure that this processed food again is something that can be done at a global standard and be exported to outside of India as well. Chala potential undi, and I do believe, in fact, not only in Hyderabad but also in areas outside, even in the districts, food processing sector will really prosper. My Honorable Chief Minister, in fact, has come out with an idea called as special food processing zones, like how we have SEZs for IT. Similarly, a special food processing zone in many districts are being planned now, and I am very upbeat that this will attract large investments in food processing. The other sectors, again, I am looking at with great deal of enthusiasm. Textiles is another sector. Today, if you look at Indian textile scenario, we only contribute 4% to the world textiles. Bangladesh contributes 8% to the world textiles and garments. So therefore, again, the opportunity is huge. Today we have in Warangal, India's largest textile park. We already have, again, some marquee names that have come in. A company called Young One from Korea has signed up to invest about 1,000 crores there, and they are going to set up 8 factories, providing 12,000 employment to 12,000 people. Now, this is another sector which I believe, because it's never going to go out of fashion. You know, people are going to continue to wear clothes, hopefully, and ensure that new trends and new fashions, we don't know, man. I mean, things change. But I hope it will continue that way. So, therefore, again, another sector I'm upbeat about is textiles. And again, another very important sector is logistics. Endukante Hyderabad, being bang in the middle of the country, has a unique value proposition to offer to the rest of the country. As manufacturing activity picks up, you need logistic bases. And Hyderabad offers that unique position. So, logistics, electronics, food processing, textiles, besides life sciences and IT, I think these are the sectors I would look forward to in the next decade or so.
Another sector, sir, I'm sure it's very close to you as well, is the aerospace defense. Right? So, I have a background in the aerospace engineering from my US life, and we used to bring some very qualified manufacturing engineers, right, to the Sikorsky, Tata Aerospace, Tata Tasso facility, because the kind of experienced manpower was lacking here, so we just had to bring them and train our folks here. When we looked at this Adi Butler,